Hey guys, so today we're going to talk about how to improve your marathon time without bonking and without getting injured. Stay tuned. The number one factor to improving your marathon time is improving your aerobic base. But the thing is, you have to do it correctly. So the issue here is that a lot of people try to do a lot of things way too fast, right? So you go to school, right? You start with kindergarten, first grade, and keep going up and up and up. You don't just skip all the way to high school, right? A lot of people try to skip all the way to high school in running. So they might not be aerobically fit, but then they add in all this speed work. They're hitting that gray zone 3 zone almost every day or every other day. They're not giving themselves enough time to recover, right? So when you're building your aerobic base, so this might sound obvious, but this is something that I preach on this channel because it's the most important thing when it comes to distance running in general, not just marathon running, right? So I would actually recommend running at a pace that's so slow that it seems like it's almost like counterproductive, like they're junk miles, right? So you want to have a period of time of about 3 to 6 months where you're pretty much just running aerobically, running really slow, building up that aerobic base, and making sure that you're doing it in a way that's not going to get you injured. And if you're new to the sport or you're just coming off of an injury or a break from running, I would recommend slowly increasing your mileage or your running time over time. So I probably wouldn't, there's a 10% rule, but I kind of go based more on feel. And so if you feel like you can do more than 10% from the week prior in terms of mileage or your time, then feel free to do so, but be very cautious not to do too soon, too fast, because you will end up getting signs of overtraining or becoming injured or just being worn out in general. So I highly recommend just to really take your time to build the aerobic base. Enjoy the process, right? And for me, when I'm building the aerobic base, I would focus more on counting time spent running over mileage, right? Because the thing is, our brain can actually process time a lot easier than mileage, right? So for me, it's a lot easier for me to process, okay, I have to run for 60 minutes instead of, oh, I have to go for a run for about 7 to 8 miles, right? And the thing is, when you're counting miles, you actually are gonna speed up your pace way faster than you need to because you kind of want to cover the distance faster and it's harder for your brain to process, like I said before. So when you say, okay, I just want to go out run for 60 minutes, you don't have to worry about pace or anything. You're just going and you just want to go on a perceived effort, right? Or another way you can do it is you can use a heart rate monitor and do heart rate training and work at stay in an aerobic zone where you have a lower heart rate, right? Percentage of your maximum heart rate. However you want to do your formula. There's a math formula. There's the 220 minus your age. And you can go to a lab, but who has time for that? Unless you have access to like an exercise and physiology lab. The main factor here is that you want to be able to increase the amount of time spent running throughout the week. So the best thing that happened for me, so like I said, not counting miles, I would count my time spent running. I'd be like, okay, so for these 3 weeks, I spent 2 to 3 hours a week running, right? And I would slowly ramp up. Then I would be like, okay, I want to try 4 hours and then 5 hours. And I ended up getting up to 8 hours. And so for me, that got me up to about 57 miles per week, right? And being able to do this consistently, running over 6 hours a week consistently, I've been able to build up my aerobic base immensely, right? So my math pace right now, so 180 minus my age, so I'm 25, so my math would be 155, but I add +5 because I've been an athlete my entire life and I've been healthy and I'm not injured. and I've been training for about a year in terms of long distance running. So it's 160. So my math pace at a 160 beats per minute heart rate is now it's now actually 650, and that's crazy. And I just ran a 3:38 marathon not too long ago, so I'm well on my way to running a sub 3 hour marathon, and I've basically been able to do it based off of just purely aerobic training at a lower heart rate, training slow. There was a period of time when I was actually running 10 minutes a mile, and you know why I did that? Because at that heart rate, I'm actually burning more fat as a fuel compared to carbs, right? And so I'm training my body to be more metabolically efficient, right? And a lot of times, sometimes more people just need to spend more time on their feet, and that's what I focused on. I don't worry about pace, tempo runs, intervals. That stuff will come down the road, right? But I have to go through kindergarten first, right? And yeah, people might laugh, people might joke on me on Strava, but down the road, my time is going to be much better. I'm going to be able to be more consistent. I'm going to be faster, and I'll have better performances, and my long-term prospects in the sport will be much better. So let me give you some tips and tricks on how you can actually structure your aerobic base training period, the tools you can use such as a heart rate monitor, the math formula, and other things such as diet and nutrition that you should be doing as well. I'm about to go on my run right now, and I want to show you the Wahoo Ticker heart rate monitor. It's about $50. I highly recommend it. It's pretty comfortable. You can just put it around your chest right up here, right below your pecs. And it's way better than the optical heart rate monitor, so I highly recommend everyone to do that. If you just use the wrist monitor, it's gonna be very inaccurate. It's gonna start counting cadence and stuff, and it's more so directional than accurate. And I noticed that with the chest strap, you can run way smoother, and it's just way more accurate and better. You know, who doesn't want more accurate data, more accurate training, better results? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm gonna do that. It's $50. You might have to replace it once every 1 to 2 years, and I think it's worth it. It's $50. I recommend Wahoo. The Wahoo Ticker, to me, is comfortable enough, and other people want the Polar heart rate monitor or the Garmin one, but those are a little bit more expensive. Those might run on the $80 to $90 side. So yeah, I recommend that. And yeah, so I'm about to go do this. I'm gonna go for my run. I'm gonna run on the new Nike Zoom Flies. Well, these aren't new. These are like old, so that's why they're cheap, but they're new to me. So yeah, that's what I'm about to do. Might go 10 miles today. Might not. Who knows? But another run before work. So another way to build your aerobic base is a method called the Maffetone method, or MAF, stands for maximum aerobic function. This is the most optimal heart rate zone to develop your aerobic system and to improve your fat burning abilities and improve your pace within that aerobic zone. And basically all these different factors, they're critical for your marathon performances, right? And basically what this does, it's gonna force you to slow down your run. So if you're like a beginner runner, or if you're not like that aerobically fit, it's very easy for you to be pushing way too hard and push yourself outside an aerobic zone and make yourself, be training anaerobically, right? And you don't want to be doing that. So this MAF heart rate zones, it helps a lot, right? So basically, the reason why you don't want to run anaerobically is because running at those higher heart rate zones, it actually makes you burn more carbs as a fuel, and it's actually training your anaerobic system. And the thing is, when you are a long distance runner, you don't want to be using too many carbs as a fuel. Yes, carbs do help you for speed and power, but when you're going for a long distance endurance event like the marathon, you want to conserve those carbohydrate stores and your glycogen stores across the entire spectrum of the race. You don't want to be burning out, and that's why people end up bonking, right? And so you only want to really train in your anaerobic zone for 10 to 20% of the time, but the key here is only after you have sufficiently trained your aerobic system, right? And so to calculate your Maffetone heart rate zones, so you want to take 180 minus your age, and then you want to add +5 if you're an aerobically fit and healthy person, and you've been training without injury or sickness for a while. And then most people would just keep it at 180 minus their age. And then I would actually do a -5 if you're not aerobically fit at all, or you become sick or injured a few times a year. So I would focus on that for now. And I talk about fat burning a lot on this channel, and so people might be asking why focus on fat burning, right? So the goal for trying to increase your fat burning abilities is you want to increase the amount of fat burning that occurs at higher intensities, right? So basically how our bodies use fuel, right? We use both fat and carbs as a fuel. And so it's kind of like this, you're kind of like a hybrid car in a sense, right? But by training more aerobically and increasing your fat burning abilities, as the pace and intensity increases, you are actually will be able to increase the amount of fat you use as a fuel compared to carbohydrates, right? And you kind of have this relationship based on the more intensity, the higher intense the pace is, the more carbs you end up burning as a fuel. And by being aerobically fit, you actually reduce those proportions of how many carbs are being burned, right? And this is critical for the marathon because you want to be able to conserve glycogen stores. And that's the reason why people bonk, because they've actually fully depleted their glycogen stores because they're either A, not aerobically fit, they were running at an intensity way too fast for a marathon, so they burned through their carbohydrate stores, right? And so when you're fat adapted and you're efficient at burning fat, your body can actually run on fat for much longer than carbs, right? Because when you're running solely on carbs or primarily on carbs, it becomes very easy to become glycogen depleted. And that's not good when you're a long distance runner, especially for a marathon and also for triathlons and Ironmans and ultra marathons as well, right? But another key portion of this outside of the physical training aspect is your diet. And I highly recommend people to avoid refined carbohydrates as much as possible. And I'm not going to try to demonize all carbohydrates because you do need some carbohydrates as an endurance athlete. Like I said before, our body uses both as a fuel, and carbohydrates are actually a source for power and speed. But you want to avoid refined carbohydrates specifically because these carbohydrates, they spike your insulin levels, and when this occurs, your body's ability to burn fat is actually impaired, right? And in addition, you'll also become more addicted to wanting to have more carbohydrates, and you're gonna have to rely on a high amount of them just to be able to function, right? And there's a lot of downsides to this, and I will actually outline that in a later video. So if you're a beginner or you're trying to come out of injury and you just want to improve your aerobic base in general and not focus on speed for now, I highly recommend the MAF heart rate zones and implement that as part of your training and reducing the amount of refined carbohydrates in your diet. So please like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.